Today I'm on the Bear 650 from Royal Enfield, a bike apparently named after the Big Bear race in the deserts of California. Well, I can't tell you, alas, what the bike is like to ride in California, but I can tell you what it's like to ride here in leafy Buckinghamshire. So if you're interested in the Bear 650 from Royal Enfield, stick around and stay tuned. Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Welcome back to Great Misden and another bike review. And yeah, so I'm on the 650, or the Bear 650 from Royal Enfield, as I said in the intro. I'm a little bit late to the party. The bike has been out for ages. For some reason I haven't got to ride it for ages, but there we go. It's a bike that's kind of scrambler style and very much based on the super successful for Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, a bike that I know extremely well because I've owned one since 2019. So I think I'm in a pretty good position to talk about this bike and indeed to compare the Bear with the Interceptor. Now, I bought my Interceptor specifically with the idea of customising it and making it into a scrambler, the sort of bike that this absolutely is. So the question, I guess, for this video and what I'll be considering in my mind is, had this been around in 2019, would I have bought this instead of the Interceptor? Well, let's find that out in this video. Right, before we get into how she rides, let's take a look over this beast, shall we? Okay, here she is then. Splendid looking bike, I think. This is right up my street, this sort of bike. As I say, scrambler style. I've always liked scrambler style bikes. I've always liked bikes that look like motorcycles. You know, fuel tank, couple of wheels, seat, you know, sort of bike that a child would draw, or certainly I would have done when I was a child. Anyway, let's have a look at it closely, front to back, at some of the features on this and some of the differences between this and the Interceptor that I know so well. First off, we've got this massive long mudguard on here. I know lots of people will be pleased to see it's got this big extender on here, so it's actually going to help keep some of the mud and stuff off of the rectifier and off of the oil cooler there. Only a single disc on the front. We've got these sort of suspension covers here on the mudguard as well. First of all, big difference between this and the Interceptor. This has now got all LED lighting on here. Looks quite modern. I'm not sure about these. These look quite bulky, but well, they certainly work all right, but I'm not sure whether I like the look of them or not, but they certainly, as I say, work okay. Lovely paintwork on this. I love this badge on here as well. These comes in, I think it's 4 different paint schemes. These come in and they look absolutely lovely, all of them. The big difference between this and the Interceptor is the way the exhaust goes. You've only got one exhaust on here, whereas the Interceptor has twin ones, which actually is quite nice, because on the Interceptor, when you ride it, you can actually almost hear in stereo the sort of the pipes popping either side. You don't get that on this because you've only got the one pipe, but it does look quite neat the way they've done it. I guess they've had to do this to be up to date with Euro regulations, because I notice underneath, look, it's got a big sort of collector box of tricks under there to do all that gubbins that you have to do to get through the regulations these days. Again, you don't get that on the Interceptor, but otherwise quite a nice looking exhaust. It's not up high like you'd expect on a scrambler, but they've made it sort of blacked out and put this bit of grill on here, made it look sort of scrambler-esque. Talking of blacked out, you have got a blacked out engine, or largely blacked out, which I like, and it's got this sort of crackle finish on here now, which looks hard wearing, so that's all very good. Got a number board on here as well as on the other side. I'm not sure whether I like that or not, but it's in keeping with the whole scrambler-esque vibe. Massive dual shocks on the back, and we've got these what look like knobbly tyres. They are kind of mostly road tyres. I think I might change these. These are from a company that says Nylarex on, so I'm not sure if I trust those so much. They felt all right on this ride, but I think I might go for some more mainstream rubber. The seat on here looks nice. It looks like leather. It doesn't feel like leather though. They've done a clever job at disguising it, but it looks, and it's you know, looks nice, and it's very comfortable. Rear end, again, not sure about these indicators, but quite like the light. That looks kind of retro. And yeah, nice looking bike. Got a bracing arm here across the handlebar as well, in keeping with the scrambler-esque vibe. Single dash dial, we'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, overall, I think they've played an absolute blinder with this. I know some people won't like the gold forks. Some of the colour schemes, you don't have to have gold forks, but there we go. That's the Royal Enfield. Well, I see the full name is Interceptor Bear 650. I think it looks an absolute cracker. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Okie dokie, welcome back aboard the Bear 650 then. A bike that is right up my street, it has to be said. I do like bikes that aren't overladen with power and technology, and you can just enjoy them for the sake of riding them, and this bike is very much in that vein.
Let's kick off then with what it's like from a comfort point of view. Well, first thing when we talk about comfort for me is positioning and seat. Well, position wise it feels exactly the same as my Interceptor. I'm sat upright like I'm on an armchair. Very comfortable place to be. Very wide handlebars on here, and I'm not lent forward at all, no weight on my wrists. You can ride it all day long. The seat on here feels nice and comfy. In fact, I would say it feels more comfy than the original seat that came with my Interceptor. I think you could ride on this all day long and you'd be absolutely fine. So there's no problems as far as comfort is concerned on the Bear. It's a nice place to be. Of course, you've got no wind protection per se, but the wind blast isn't turbulent, it's nice and smooth, it's all good in that respect. If you do want to get a bit of wind off your face, they do sell an accessory, a little windscreen you can put on there as well. I personally prefer the looks without the windscreen, so I wouldn't bother. So yeah, comfort wise, tick in the box. Next up, what are you looking at? Well, this is where this bike does change quite radically from the Interceptor, in that for a start the most obvious change is you've now got this single dial in the middle. It's a big TFT screen. It's not the two analog dials that you got on the Interceptor, and I think you still get on the Interceptor, and that will upset a few people, and normally that would upset me too, because I like proper analog dials on a retro style bike. Well, this bike overall feels a little bit more modern, I would say, than the Interceptor anyway, for various reasons which we'll go into in the review. But if you are going to do a TFT screen on a bike, and I understand why manufacturers do that, cost and flexibility for example, then this is the way to do a TFT. Triumph, take note. Look, they've put it in this big round binnacle, so it still looks like a dial. They've represented the information in an analog way. You've still got a sweepy needle on here. Incidentally, you can change it if you want it just digital. There are various presentations you can cycle through. And anyway, I just think that looks lovely. If you're going to do a TFT dial, do it like that. Look, it's clear, it looks classy, it does not look in any way cheap. I think Royal Enfield have absolutely nailed that. I've got it with the black background turned on. It comes as default on a light background. I just like the dark background. So that's really, really nice. You've got a little additional joystick down here which cycles you through the various trip counters and so on at the bottom of the screen, and that all works quite intuitively. So yeah, like that dial. Switch gear is the more, well, I'll call it more modern Royal Enfield switch gear in that it's slightly different again to the original Interceptor. You've got these sort of more shiny bits here and what look like bakelite switches, which I think work really, really well. They've got a nice tactile feel to them, and they're just a bit different to what you see on other bikes. I really like them. So another thumbs up on switchgear. Now this is my favourite bumpy road where I like to test suspension, and as you may be able to hear from my voice, it is pretty bumpy on here. That is one of the things where you can feel that the bike is built to a price. We'll go into pricing when we go through the specs in a minute. But yeah, the suspension is a little bit cheap feeling, a little bit bouncy as you get into some, more rough stuff, or indeed if you press on the bike. So I think a worthwhile upgrade might be to change the rear shocks on this bike, which is actually something I did on my Interceptor, and it transformed the handling. So that's one thing that's not quite so good. Gearbox is lovely on here, and the engine has got a nice note. Oh, that single exhaust, it sounds really nice. Right, let's wind her up a bit down here. Again, this is where I can feel on this slightly twistier, bumpier road that the back end is slightly out of its comfort zone, but otherwise it's fine. And this is where these sort of engines absolutely excel. They're not super powerful, but you can have fun on them. You don't have to worry about looking at your speedo all the time to make sure you're not going to silly limits. In fact, a quick glance, I see I'm doing 58, which is within the 60 mile an hour limit of this road. And believe me, you won't want to be going any faster down here on this. Well, I have got a big grill on your face. It's a nice bike, this. Sound good actually as you come down the box as well. Very, very nice. Okay, let's just wander up here, see when we hit the limiter. 7,000 RPM in first, the limiter cuts in, and again 7.5 in second. But she picks up her skirt quite nicely and goes absolutely fine. So yeah, you're not going to expect to win any speed records on a bike with this sort of power output. But there is ample for the road on here. There's ample even for if you're going to be on a motorway or if you're going to go on tour as well. But it ain't a track bike, let's put it that way. Alright, should we talk about those numbers then? Let's get into the specification.
Right, let's talk specs then, shall we? And I've got these written down, so hopefully I won't make any silly mistakes as I usually do. Alrighty, let's start off then with the engine. This is the 648cc parallel twin that we've seen in the likes of the Interceptor before. Puts out 47.4 PS and 56.5 Newton meters of torque. So ain't going to win any races, but it's great in the real world. Brakes on the front, I hope you can see there, the calipers by Bray. A 2-pot caliper on a single disc, and that's a 320mm single disc on the front. On the rear, a 270mm disc with a single pot Bray caliper. Suspension on the front, courtesy of these 43mm upside down forks, not adjustable. And on the back, we've got this traditional looking twin shock setup. Again, it's not adjustable. Seat height on the bike is 830mm, which sounds quite high, but I'm only 5'8" and I can get my feet flat on the deck. Tank capacity on the bike is 13.7 litres. Now when it comes to weight of the bike, the website doesn't actually tell you what the weight is. It says the gross weight, which I think means the all-up weight, the total weight, 400 kilograms. That means passenger, rider as well. The actual weight of the bike, I'm not sure what it is, but I'm thinking it's probably around the 230 kilograms mark. It feels pretty heavy to me. Electronics wise, not much to write home about other than this amazing display, which we'll talk about more during the ride. It does have, as I said, LED lights all round, and that is about it. Of course, it's got ABS braking, but it doesn't have riding modes or anything like that. It doesn't really need it on a bike like this. Price of the Bear, £6,749, which I think is an absolute bargain, particularly when you compare it to, say, things like the Triumph Bonneville T100, which comes in at, I think, £9.5 grand, and the Kawasaki Z650 RS, another bike I know well because my wife's got one, that comes in at £7,799. So yeah, good price on the Bear, although I would say those other two bikes arguably are better motorcycles, but yeah, you can't argue with the pricing on this. Other things to know are that it comes in various cool colours. My favourite one is the yellow one. It's called Wild Honey. You can also get an optional windshield and some soft panniers for the bike.
Okay, so much for the specs. Let's continue the ride then, see how she does. But down these sort of back lanes, the bike is absolutely marvellous. This is the sort of riding that I love to do, and it's the sort of riding where this type of bike absolutely excels. It's engaging. It's got a bit of rawness about it, a little bit of roughness, or otherwise you could call it character. And yeah, as I said before, I've got a grin on my face. You can't see it, of course, but it is a fun place to be. Right, braking into this corner. Yeah, brakes aren't fantastic, it has to be said. Again, maybe a bit of a victim of being built to a price and just having that single front disc. Brakes are adequate, but not fantastic, it has to be said. But again, it's not a sports bike. You wouldn't expect them to be laden with feel. They're perfectly adequate enough, as I say. Let me just get around this corner, check there's nothing behind me. Let's try the rear brake. It's feels a bit weird actually. The rear brake feels like it's a bit inward, but it works all right. Weirdly, the bike doesn't feel quite as wide between my legs as my Interceptor does. I don't know why that is, because the engine is exactly the same. Might be imagining it, but it doesn't feel particularly wide, this. And it doesn't feel hideously heavy as you ride, even though it is a heavy bike. Like most bikes, once you're moving, feels great. Doesn't change direction particularly quickly. I think it's probably fairly raked out, which means you do have to sort of muss it around the corners a little bit, but not in an extreme way at all. I think they've got the balance of handling just about right on this. Perfect for these back lanes. Right, I mentioned the weight of the bike. Let's just nip over to the station car park and see what she's like shifting it around. Alrighty, as the sun comes out, let's get into Great Bissenden Station car park so I can do my lugging about test then. That's the bit of the review where I basically simulate what it's like to live with the bike in your garage, you know, moving it around on your driveway, that sort of thing. What's the turning circle like? How heavy does it feel getting it off the stand? All that sort of caper. By the way, this bike just comes with a side stand. I noticed the Interceptor, of course, used to come with a centre stand as well as standard. This bike doesn't, so that's something that might be important to you. Anyway, nice and easy to find neutral as I'm sat here. Look, I can show you, feet flat on the deck, no problem at all. Side stand, it's got a big old sort of lip on it, so it's easy to get down. And it does go over quite a way, the bike. But there she is, resplendent. Okay, so we'll do the usual thing, stick it into the other space, see what it's like. So getting her upright, does feel quite heavy because it has gone over a long way and it is quite a heavy bike. So yeah, a bit of a heave there. And then full lock, round we go. Let's see what the turning circle's like. Actually, a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be quite a big one. But we went from the middle of that to, well, almost the middle of that, but it's sort of closer to the edge. I've gone a bit further around than I would normally do. But that's not a bad turning circle. That's quite good on there. And actually not quite as heavy to move around as I feared it would be. It's a bit of a heft to get it off that side stand because it does go over a long way, look. And it's quite a big old side stand. But yeah, not too bad. I'll put that in the medium category as far as lugging around and living with it is concerned. Just as I exit the car park, should we do some very slow speed control just to see what she's like. So from a balance point of view, here we are, look, I'm in first, an indicated 3 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour now. And yeah, no difficulty holding her upright. It feels quite nicely balanced actually. If you're filtering along or whatever, that'd be absolutely fine. Let's just move a little bit quicker now, get her into second. Here we go for a sort of slow crawling speed, 10 miles an hour. No jerkiness, nothing like that. Fueling's nice. Got it nailed now on these fuel injected bikes, haven't they? No problem at all. Slow speed control. Very, very nice. Alright, what about the mirrors? Well, these are your classic Royal Enfield mirrors again, exactly the same as on the Interceptor. They look a bit Mickey Mouse, but they're in keeping with the styling and they work absolutely fine. There's no vibration out the back, so no problem there. I might be tempted to go bar end or something like that. But they work absolutely fine. Clutch is quite stiff. It's not hideously stiff. We're not talking, you know, that you'd notice it being stiff like you do say on a Harley Davidson, but it's nowhere near as light as say a Triumph that has really light clutch action. It's absolutely fine. It all feels nice and mechanical. I mentioned earlier that the bike feels more modern than the Interceptor. Well, number one, this is what, 6 years newer than my Interceptor, so it's had 6 years of development, or at least 5 on the drawing board, I guess. So I don't know what they've done, if they've done anything to the engine, but it does feel a bit smoother than mine. That might just be an age thing, and the fact this is barely running. Other things that make it feel more modern are things like the display, the TFT, which I think they've absolutely nailed. Stuff like the LED lighting. Even this switchgear, although I said it was the sort of Bakelite old school stuff, it's just got a better tactile feel than the switchgear they originally had, and it's got a more quality feel. Even things like the grips just feel better. They sort of bulge out in the middle. They're kind of retro style, but they feel comfortable to the hand. I even quite like the brake fluid reservoir on here. At least it's not one of those plastic jobs. Now, there's a lot to like about this. I mean, obviously I'm a fan, well, I'm a fan of Royal Enfields generally, and I'm definitely a fan of the Interceptor, or I wouldn't have had one for 6 years, so I'm going to be a fan of this. So you could argue that I'm biased, but that's partly the reason why I wanted to ride it. There's not really anything I don't like about it. It's kind of as I expected. I suppose what I would say, it being a scrambler style bike, it is just a styling exercise. I don't think you genuinely want to take this bike off-road, because it is just too heavy for that. I'm sure you could take it off-road, but it wouldn't be for me. And the tyres, although they look sort of knobbly, they're really road tyres. You don't notice any of that knobbliness on the road here. They feel absolutely fine. I don't know what they'd be like in the wet, but I'm not getting any funny buzzing or noises off the knobbly tyres, but they do look good. And she sounds good. I think if I bought one of these, there's nothing about it that I would change. I think I might add the optional throw over luggage on the back, just to give you some excuse to go touring on it, and that's about it. Oh, the other thing, while I was mentioning the display's so good on here, I hadn't actually worked out how to do it yet because I haven't got a manual for the bike. But you can, this has got the tripper built into it, the nav thing that gives you access to Google Maps actually on the display. And when I've seen it on other videos, it looks fantastic. So again, you've even got nav built in there. If you need it, you hook it up to your phone in your pocket and away you go. So yeah, for the money, for less than £7,000, got an awful lot of bike here. Nice work, Royal Enfield. Now, I said at the start of the video, had this been out at the time I bought my Interceptor, perhaps I would have got this rather than the Interceptor, or would I have got this rather than the Interceptor? And the answer to that, as you've probably gathered, is a resounding yes. And in fact, if I was in the market now and I was thinking about getting an Interceptor and I was tossing up between the Interceptor and the Bear, then I'd definitely get the Bear. I just prefer the styling of it. This is right up my street, this sort of bike. Given I bought my Interceptor, as I said at the beginning of the video, to customise, and bought my bike, I think it was about £6,500 when I bought, no, £5,500 probably when I bought it. I spent way more than that again on the bike to get it into a sort of custom scrambler mode, which you could buy this for less than £7,000. It's already in scrambler mode. Okay, it's not unique like mine is, but it's nicely built, it's well put together, it looks right, it sounds right, it goes right. There's a lot to like about the Bear, and yeah, I kind of wish it was around back in 2019. I would definitely have bought one of these. Yeah, big thumbs up. So well done Royal Enfield on the Bear. They've really come on, haven't they, Royal Enfield, in the last few years. When I think back to the first Enfield I ever rode, which was the old I think it was the old Classic 500 or the Bullet 500, which was pretty horrible. These now are up there with the Tramps and other bikes. Just beautiful to ride, great stuff. Right, if you're interested, after the closing titles, I'll do one of my little fashion segments. People keep asking me about the jacket that I'm wearing, so I shall cover that off after the credits if you're interested. Otherwise, that's it for now. Thank you once again for watching. If you've not been to my channel before, do consider hitting that subscribe button. It'll be great to have you along next time. Alright, until then, this has been the Missing and Flyer. Cheerio.
Right, thanks for sticking around to the bitter end of the video. I said I'd tell you all about this jacket that I've been wearing, because people often ask me on videos, what is that jacket you're wearing? It just saves me answering all those comments. So this is a new jacket I've got for this season. It's from Halvarssons. I've written down some details of it just so I've got to get everything right. So it's the Halvarssons Dalen textile jacket. That's D-A-L-E-N. It's a 3-layer laminated construction, which means it's windproof and waterproof. In other words, it's a bit like those fancy Gore-Tex Pro jackets that you get. The waterproofness is bonded into the jacket. You don't have to have separate waterproof layers that you take out. It's properly waterproof as it is, thanks to the 3 layers. It's got an additional liner in it for warmth as well. It's got double zip here. I don't want to mess up my mic, but inside you can see I've actually got a warm layer that I can zip in or out if I want to, depending on the general temperature. It's got level 2 shoulder and elbow pads in it as well. It's AA rated, so that's the sort of second level of AA rating. So that's kind of touring spec, which is what you'd expect of a jacket like this. It's got great pockets. I think it looks good. And something that I really like about it is the ventilation. Let me show you. So again, I want to be careful I don't mess up the microphone, but you see these big zips here? If you undo these, there's another one there. It's the same on this side, but you see under here, it's got all this mesh, and then what you can do, there's got a little popper. I can't do it one-handed, but there's a little strap in there. You can strap it together so that as you're riding along in the summer, you've got that massive amount of airflow going through there, and the massive vents on the back as well. So you can get some really good airflow coming out of this. So it really does work well as a sort of an all-season jacket. Anyway, if you're interested in the price, it is £649.99, which is a lot of money, but when you compare it to the prices of things like Klim, stuff like that, and it offers a similar level of functionality, I think that's a pretty good price. So I'll put a link below. Full transparency, that link below is what's called an affiliate link. It's from Sports Bike Shop. If you click on it and you subsequently buy something, you don't pay any extra, but I get a little bit of a kickback. You'll be supporting the channel at no extra cost to you. All right, that's it for now. Speak to you soon.